Anyway, um, he does tarot. I don't do tarot. I I have oracle cards. I don't do tarot. Anyway, I wanted to talk about the astrology for the next coming year. This coming year, 2022. So I just want to immediately, whoops, um, just want to immediately get into it so that I'm not beating around the bush. So, um, I did a stream the other day and I thought, um, that I would change it because there were some aspects of it that were just, they didn't make the most sense. You know, looking at the signs on the ascendant, when are they going to happen? You know, so yeah, I looked at that and went, yeah, I don't know about that. So, anyway, so 2022, this is going to feel like an official new beginning. 2020 was very, very rough in January. That's a huge understatement. 2020 was a major, major challenge. We had Saturn square Pluto in January 2020. Saturn, control, discipline, focus. How good are you? How serious are you? You know, I'm not messing around. And then Pluto is, saying, let it die, let it go. This isn't good for you. Pluto destructs anything it touches and it intensifies anything it touches. So think of Scorpio. Think of all the secrets that are hidden there. When Pluto's in a sign, it reveals the secrets, the dark secrets of various areas in our life. So, Pluto being in Capricorn, people in high positions of power, because Capricorn rules, authority. So, people in authority positions and questioning them and, try to hide something. Nope. It will be discovered. The truth will be revealed. That's Pluto in Capricorn. Just to shorten it, I don't want to go in too in depth. Um, I just wanted to give that generalized view. So that kind of energy, a confined energy which felt constricted. It felt closed. And then in December, around the Jupiter Saturn junction, Jupiter, which is all about growth, growing your mind, growing your heart and soul, moved into Aquarius, which was like, now it's time to be free. Now it's, I feel the healthy detachment where, you know, what the heck? I want to do this thing. I feel good about it. This sounds like a good idea. This sounds like a idea that I haven't considered for. Let's go for it. Like let's, like I wanna, I wanna be free. That is Jupiter in Aquarius. So Now things are calming down. We've been through the birth canal, which was 2021. Now let me say something else about 2020. A lot of people around the world have found it very difficult to see the forest for the trees. Seeing the big picture as opposed to getting caught in the tiny little details, which is Virgo at the high level and at the low level because things have positives and negatives to them. So we were so caught in the guilt and regret, only stuck at home all the time, left to just ruminate and left to dwell on the past and dwell on the things of our lives. And Jupiter entered Aquarius, and I noticed certainly in my life less of that. I noticed less of it when Jupiter moved into Aquarius. Like I could move forward. So, yeah, so things are softening. Um, so now I don't want to get too far, ahead and jump to things too quickly. So 2022, now I just want to minorly look at numerology. I will not be having a numerology channel because it's a separate science, pseudoscience that involves so much, and I'm stick with the astrology because the numerology can get to being another can of worms. Although it can be best friend of astrology and it can be paired with it. I have a video on numbers 1 through 9 on, I think it's on my official channel, which you can go see. And so we have science of numbers, that numbers have vibrations and energies, and they carry on special meanings. One being the beginning, one being the initiator, the self you think about Aries, and the 9 being, um, you know, reflecting upon, making resolutions upon, all the stages throughout all of the other numbers and all of those different cycles by the day, by the month, by the year. So, so I'm going to touch on that. I know that several channels combine the astrology with the numerology, which I think is neat to do. So we have the number 6. 6 is all about connection. It is about um, connecting with other people and really, really giving your time, really giving your love and, um, you know, your care to them. That's what 6 is about. It rules things like nurturing, rules um, your family. I will give so much for my family. It's that type of quality. Um, so 6 is 6 can come from self love as well, self healing, um, accepting yourself. Since Virgo's the 6th sign, high road, accepting yourself. I am enough. I am perfectly imperfect, just like anybody else. And, you know, coming from a humble place from your heart instead of getting so caught in the mind and into that little critic that is judging this, judging that. And that's, that thing in your head, which is an impurity. So, so this will be definitely a calmer year, a much easier year, much easier, year which will feel more grounding. Things are really seeming to be, um, in balance this year. Uh, and with North Node and Taurus, it says be present because the nodes will move January 18th. Be present. What's going on in the present moment? What am I seeing, hearing, smelling, touching, tasting in the present moment from my senses? And I want to highlight the word my, from my senses. So, Venus retrograde. Venus went retrograde December 19th. When Venus is retrograde, when a planet is retrograde, it means that the planet moves in backward motion. And this means that it's a time to reflect upon whatever the theme of the placement and the planet is. So, with Venus retrogrades, this asks us, to look at our values, and do they really matter to us? How do we look at them? Are they really important to us? How can we change them um, in any way? Um, like love, like family, money. How can we change how we look at those things? What we're giving to those things, especially with Venus retrograde in Capricorn, which is all about building and construction, all about starting from beginning and applying the practical steps towards building it up. It's about doing, and it's about the steps that we take to really, really, like the best way to do it is to do it. That is, the huge belief to be um, proactive, and initiating about the things that you want in your life and taking action, making them happen, making them, in reality. So, um, so this looks at creating much more profound relationships. Because Venus is also the planet of relationships, changing of relationships, shifting that, better relationships. How can we fix or improve our relationships when Venus goes retrograde with others, ourselves? Because if we, love ourselves, care for ourselves, then we can love others much more greatly. And money. And that's all I want to say about money, because I am not interested in financial astrology. So, again, retrogrades are the time to reflect. It's not about doing, doing, doing. It's about more of a feminine quality of reflecting, looking ourselves in the mirror, looking at our lives, what we're doing, because there comes times when, we need to do that in order to evolve, in order to become better and really make greater strides in life and advance in it. So, yeah. So then Mercury will be retrograding as well. The planet Mercury, whenever Mercury goes retrograde, technology cuts out. It doesn't work. Planes, trains and automobiles, you know, all those systems of communication, not just verbally talking to somebody, but just other, messaging systems like mail or something like that don't always work. Things aren't always efficient and clear, and things are probably sent the right way, understood the right way. Um, you might have some um, mishaps in communication when Mercury goes retrograde. In the Earth signs, Mars goes retrograde. Not really about taking action. If we've um, just not really initiated what we need to initiate, Mars retrograde's here to tell us, that we're living this experience and we need to take action. We need to initiate things. Um, so now's the time to go within ourselves, and think as opposed to do. So yeah. So then now we're going to be talking about Jupiter. So Jupiter is the planet that looks at the feeling of abundance. Abundance and gratitude is a feeling. It's a warmth that you feel in your body and your soul. You'll know it's come on when you feel that warmth. It's a nourished feeling. It's a feeling that you feel satisfied. It might feel like huga, which is, word which means just comforted, where you feel like I have enough. I don't really need um, anything more. That sort of a feeling. And with that feeling that you have so much and that there is so much, that opens up to there being so many possibilities, endless possibilities, where the sky is the limit of possibilities. And like, let's make the most of this. Let's go for it. Let's go for it, you know. And that is Jupiter energy. That and it's a big feeling to have. That's a big feeling. Jupiter is a huge planet of gas. It's big. It's huge. That says life is a party. Take advantage of it. It's just a movie. Everything's nothing and nothing is everything. So that planet is going to be moving through Pisces um, for a good amount of the year, up until it's going to really, really go quickly through the sign of Pisces, up until May 10th. May 10th, Jupiter at 0 degrees transitions signs and gives us a little sampling of what Jupiter in Aries is going to feel like. That is the time to go, 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 do, initiate, and initiate. That's going to be the time where a lot of people are going to achieve a lot of things, because Aries is fire. Aries is fire energy. It's bold energy. It's energy itself. Energy, fuel. That's what that's going to bring. When Jupiter is in Pisces, it's going to allow for much more love. Jupiter in Pisces, unconditionally loving, much more openness to the universe, connection, um, you know, to everyone and everything, much more um, mystical and spiritual. Like for those who do not have sight, for those that are blind, the gift that they have is that their sense of hearing is heightened and increased because they don't have that sense of seeing, then they can focus more and they're much more in tune and attentive towards what they're hearing, being aware of this, being connected, but in an altered sort of way, in an unclear, not the most practical way, because Neptune is, um, you know, things that are an illusion, you know, things that aren't clear. Like, think of the fishes going in opposite directions. No one knows where we're going. I'm thinking of that song from Willy Wonka. Um, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory when they're on that boat, and then they go and that boat um, goes into the cave, and then it speeds up and all that type of thing. I found that very, very Piscean. Neptune is the planet that the ancient god was Poseidon, of the sea. He could create all kinds of magic, serving people, but also hurting them with their magic. 12th house, hidden enemies as well, is another little add on. But Pisces creates a loving feeling, a spiritually loving feeling. And that feeling is very peaceful, very soft, a softening of the heart. Um, so yeah, and Jupiter in Pisces is going to conjunct Neptune in Pisces on April the 12th, which is going to be, in short, a spiritual awakening. Tuesday, I think it's a Tuesday, April 12th, 2022, Jupiter and Neptune will conjunct. Very, very different than Saturn and Pluto conjuncting. Very different energy. So, uh, this is super rare. It happens once, in a blue moon. And when this happens, there's also going to be more creativity because Pisces is very, very creative. Pisces dreams this up. Pisces is all about fantasy and imagining things. So, the challenge is to keeping ourselves rooted in Earth. Opposite Virgo. Virgo is very, very sensitive towards its body and its health and its habits and um, what someone, let's say, the Virgo sun is doing and maintaining themselves on a physical level. So, looking at our habits, getting grounded. Um, so Jupiter and Neptune conjunct can also make for escapism because Jupiter wants things to be bigger and so much bigger, so much more. And Neptune in Pisces, when Neptune was discovered, we got introduced to drugs. Um, and drugs are an escape from reality because when we drink, when we have drugs, you know, we are at another state We are, you know, tipsy, very giddy. People with these don't, their minds are not um, in the right place um, when they're on drugs and when um, they're drinking alcohol. So looking at that and looking at the tendency to want to escape as well. So um, Neptune, illusions. Things are not what they seem to be. Perception is not reality. So knowing that. Um, Neptune and Pisces, there's confusion, there is merging with others, connecting with others in a divine way, and we need to draw our boundaries. Pisces is boundless. Like if you think about water flooding, there is no boundary, there is no gate to keep the water from flooding. So it's looking at boundaries, making them sacred, making boundaries sacred, trusting the inner knowing, the sense of intuition, inner knowing. This is where I want to go, or this is not where I want to go. This is going to better me, or this is going to, you know, really cost me. So it's looking at that. So now I want to talk about a huge thing. So every 18 months, the lunar nodes, the true nodes, the north node and south node change signs and they go in backward motion. Every 18 months um, is a masculine and every other 18 months is feminine. So air and fire are masculine, earth and water are more feminine, reflective qualities. Masculine is more action, male, doing. And I'm not talking about that in terms of genders, just so you know. So the South Node is where we're coming from, our karma, the past, the patterns of the past, the baggage of the past that we need to let go and move away from. But looking at the high road of the South Node sign to move into the North Node, balancing the two out. It's like if you think about, and I was watching this video of this lady talking about the South Node, North Node, and she described it as being a scale, a teeter totter, you know, where if you're playing on the playground with the teeter totter, one person sitting on one end, another person on the other end, like let's say one person, goes backward and then I'm face down and you can't go any forward that direction. You have to move the other way, for there to be movement, for there to be momentum going on, for you to feel like you're getting somewhere. That is, you know, really wonderful metaphor, and I wish that I came up with that. A great metaphor to describe the North Node and South Node. So, looking at it in that sort of a way. So, um, so the North Node, South Node. The South Node's the dragon's tail. North Node is the dragon's head. We are rising towards the dragon's tail, metaphorically speaking, and literally speaking. Rising, getting higher, ascending. Because when we're ascending, we're getting greater. Like if you think about Capricorn, the mountain goat, we have a new moon at the beginning, new moon at the end of the year. When it's climbing up the mountain, it is rising. It's getting more successful. It's gaining more. We're gaining more as we're moving to North Node. But Capricorn is also opposite Cancer, which looks at family, where we're coming from, our ancestors, our emotional, um, how we feel emotionally nourished. So it's balancing those two out, like not abandoning the South Node, but balancing these two out. Don't get so worked up and conscious of, oh, how am I going to do that? Just live your life and see how things play out and make decisions, do things because of things in your life, not the South Node, North Node thing. That's what I want to say about that. So these nodes are changing into Taurus and Scorpio. January 18th, they shift. And when this happens, which we're going to be talking about. So, South Node being in Scorpio is very, very dark. Looks at the darker, deeper, hidden meanings to life, all the taboos. Um, Scorpio can be, um, you know, very passionate as well. Um, and South Node Scorpios, that looks at the drama, that looks at the crisis that we may have had in various areas of our lives, based off of other people, and not letting that, not dwelling in that, not letting it, get the better of our experiences now, moving on, letting go. Um, and when we heal those traumas, when we heal those, wounds that we've had through those, dark Scorpio experiences, we can move into the North Node, which is so grounding. Taurus is very, very practical. It's very practical. Taurus is all about your values, what you value, what's important to you. Values include um, your senses, what you touch. I'm touching my hands right now, what you can taste. The wonderful orange juice when you wake up in the morning, or the coffee in the morning, smelling the coffee, smelling, hearing the beautiful piece of music. And there's more of a peace, there is more of a tranquility of um, being in the present moment, you know, and, coming from our senses, what we sense, getting in touch with our bodies and self worth with that as well. What can I do, to better my life, um, and to, um, you know, the things that I'm seeing, and what do I want? And what are you doing, you know when it comes to taking that ownership, um setting boundaries. I tuned into a video on this. This person said that Scorpio can get into some abuse when it comes to relationships, and just a disregard for your personal power and what you can do, and isolation when it comes to Taurus is isolation from negative relationships, negative things, because Earth is a very connected sort of energy, connected with things in the physical um, reality. that are positive, that are healthy for us. Um, and so that is why I did a video on, looking at some astrology videos and my thoughts and how I kind of disagree with those, which I got rid of because I just had a change of heart about those things. So, um, uh, yeah, um, Neptune and Pisces also question things. Question things. Don't just go with them. Question. So I might add that. Um, so then, yeah. So we have that. Then we have the eclipses. So an eclipse is like if suddenly the electricity just all of a sudden goes out and then it turns back on and it's fresh. It is new. Um, you know, new again. It's like if I'm doing this stream right now and how this computer could just go out, crash whilst I'm doing it, and then reboot. You know, I might add that that's what eclipses would be. Just awakenings, new marker points where we can start afresh and also reflect depending upon the lunar solar, releasing emotions when it comes to the lunar. And then with the solar, it's much more inward reflective quality. So changing really, really changes the path of our lives, the life. I might add the word trajectory going on with that. Um, so Taurus, there are several eclipses, one in Taurus that's very slow. It's very slowing down, taking its time. And when we slow down, we can really, really think about what we're doing and notice our body, noticing our sense of those, slow moments of just sitting and, looking out the window, watching the grass grow. Also, um, Taurus, Deborah Silverman describes it as the yum yum factor, the yumminess of life. Um, with, with the senses, and as I said, the feeling of nourishment. Taurus, the berries and cream, the pie, the flowers. Obviously right now it's winter time or whenever you're watching this, um, you know, all those types of things with your senses. So Taurus is very rooted in the earth. It's the second sign. Aries starts everything off, and now we're getting practical. Now we can really be fixed and apply the practical aspects into our lives, getting connected with that. That's Taurus. Um, Scorpio, transformation. Transformation, letting things die, transforming. If you think about the caterpillar um, becoming a butterfly, it goes through the cocoon. It's not comfortable, it's not easy. It does take work, but then in the end, it's just this feeling of miraculousness that is felt. Scorpio is the phoenix that rises, that is reborn again, feeling fresh and new and healed. Um, So yeah, when we're healed, we're feeling fresh and new. So yeah. So then, um, July 18th, 2023 is when the lunar nodes change signs backwards into South Node being in Libra, North Node in Aries, which we will talk about. So that is the independence versus co-independence axis, the independence axis. That, obviously the first thing we were born, we're human, we're living this life, independent, all those types of things like that. Um, yeah, a lot of energy still going on Saturn, control, restriction, the old, it rules tradition, it rules authority, following that, be at your best. Discipline, Uranus is new. Uranus is the unconventional. If you think about a flash of lightning that flashes down in the sky, you don't expect it. It's out of the blue, it's sudden change, and it can impact. That's what Uranus is. Um, Uranus is, as I said, freedom. Freedom. Aquarius looks at that. It looks at truth, and that truth needs to change. Um, so rebelling against the authority figures. Uranus was discovered when the French Revolution was going on, when people were revolting, when people were stepping into their own individual power, coming together and revolting. So the US will be experiencing a Pluto return as well. So Brecca describes it as the dark night of the soul. So Pluto in Capricorn, the birth of America, the American Revolution is coming right around, where they're experiencing their Pluto return. Which is really, really going to give them give the US a time to transform. So, Pluto is the planet of evolution, destructing the old so that we can have a better new. With that comes death, metaphorical death, going through a changing cycle in your life where something is dying and something is born anew, transformation. And again, that phoenix rising. This is a new beginning. But in order to have the phoenix rising, we have to do the healing work. So, looking at secrets, those secrets unfolding, the truth needs to be revealed. Whatever is in the dark comes to light, when Pluto is in a certain sign, depending upon the themes of that sign. Capricorn, as I said, is government authority. So, looking at that. Um, there's going to be more healing. There's going to be greater spiritual awakening. Um, South Node Scorpio, North Node Taurus says, let go of control. Scorpio wants to control. It's very passionate. Wants to control others. It wants to control the results of the situation. Letting go of that is what it's going to be about as well. So, it's a new beginning. So then, now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to touch on numerology a little bit. So we're moving into a year of six. Um, I talked about six already, as being family, as being loving others, because love is the only answer. Love for others. We give gifts because we love others, because we really care. So that's six. So, um, you know, healing is also what that is about. Um, Breaking out of past patterns, with these nose changing signs, becoming more empowered, stepping into our personal power as human beings with what we can do, what we can um, achieve, us doing things as individuals. Uranus and Taurus, that's what that's saying, a shifting of our values. So, this is a time to look at the limitations and breaking free of those limitations, becoming more open minded, opening our heart more. Six is open heartedness. And Aquarius is about stepping outside of that box. You're stuck in a box that has walls around it. When you're outside of it, the sky's the limit. There's much more freedom. You can do this, do that. You have so much room, so many opportunities open up. There's more possibilities for things now that you're outside that box. The whole world is to explore. There's this place, there's this experience I could have, there's this I could do, trying this, trying that, getting out of the box, getting out of what we're used to, getting out of going off the beaten path, trying something new. Um, Newness, new things, you know, technology. That's also what it's about. Aquarius, Uranus rules technology and how we're using that technology in humanitarian ways. So, January through March, Venus is retrograde in Capricorn. It turns direct January 29th. Then it's in Capricorn up until March 3rd. Excuse me, March 6th. Moves into Aquarius. So Venus retrograde in the sign of Capricorn, looking at the relationship of ourselves and others. Venus is the planet that rules love, relationships, anything having to do with values. And money as well, I might add. So, Venus conjuncts the Sun on January 8th. And when Venus conjuncting the Sun, we're feeling much more open hearted, much more loving, wanting to be very, very generous. It's a softening. It's a softening. It's a softening of the heart as well. So, yeah. So, up until around the 6th or 8th of March, Venus will be in Capricorn. So, with Uranus and Taurus, it looks at helping the Earth, making the Earth better and healthier, new innovative ways with climate change and all of that business. So, so then, um, you know, we have again the conjunction in April. Now to look at May real quickly. May through October and December. Jupiter in Aries. We're going to feel, Jupiter, just is, as I said, big energy. The sky is the limit. Doesn't want to be tied down. Why should I be tied down? And that's in Aries, the sign of action and independence. Um, so, you know, Mars retrograde looks at, like, asks us, how motivated are we? How much are we taking action? How much are we getting up and taking the reins um, of life? So then Mercury retrogrades, the first one, January 14th through February 1st of this year. The second one, May 10th through June 3rd in the sign of Taurus. These are Earth, Mercury retrograde and Earth signs, which looks at practicality thinking in a logically about things. September 9th to October 2nd, one in Virgo, and then December 29th, yesterday, next year, 2022 through January 18th, 2023, in the sign of Capricorn. So, the eclipses. What is no longer serving, what no longer works, what is not giving me a good, fulfilled feeling, letting go of that, coming up with something better for us, you know, moving into something better. So April 30th will be an eclipse. Um, then that will be the new moon in Taurus solar eclipse. The May 15th through 16th of this year will be the lunar eclipse or blood moon eclipse in Scorpio. Super duper intense. Then October 25th, new moon solar eclipse in Libra. Um, you know, looking at the beauty of life. November 7th through 8th, blood moon in Scorpio. You know, going deep and healing. So that is the astrology for 2022. Thank you for tuning in. Have a wonderful year and goodbye.